Welcome to the 40th episode of Generation Gap Book Reviews. I'm Christy the mom.
And I'm Lena the daughter.
In this episode, we are going to be reviewing Edgeland by Jake Halpern and Peter Kujawinski.
In the 11th episode of our podcast, we reviewed another book by Jake Halpern and Peter Kujawinski.
And it was called
Nightfall.
And
this one is like not a sequel, but it's in the same world.
I don't remember how exactly. Well, I think I was looking at one of their one of the author page on Goodreads and saw another book by both of them, and I looked at it and it talked about so many miles south of the island of Bliss, and Bliss is the island in Nightfall, and I was actually really excited because even though I only gave Nightfall 3.5 stars, I liked the story overall. It was really intriguing and really atmospheric, so I liked the idea of another book in the same world by the same author. So I remember going to you like,
I just remember you coming to me being like, "There's another book," and I was like, "What are you talking about?"
I think at that point you had only just read Nightfall. No, you read Nightfall before me. I had only just recently read Nightfall.
Yeah, you had
I was
just
probably
finished
reviewing it when I went and looked it up. So, but it's to be clear, they're not labeled to be in a series together.
No,
and
they don't even have the same characters.
Not remotely. There's no references back to the characters in Nightfall. I actually kept thinking maybe one of them would just kind of show up somewhere, but
cameo.
No spoilers or anything, but they don't. But it's in the same world. But in Nightfall, it talks about the area to the south. In Nightfall, the main mechanics of the world that are part of that lend themselves to the story involve night lasts for 14 years and day lasts for 14 years. It's a 28-year day-night cycle. But the further south they go, the more it equalizes. And so now we're in a place where I think every day is 72 hours and every night is 72 hours or something like that.
Yeah, it's 3 days and 3 days.
Yeah, so it's like they get closer to, I think it's like closer to the equator, but I'm not sure if it ever specifically states that, but that's the general idea.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting mechanic here is that the world that Edgeland takes place in is on an island basically, and they are not far from a giant hole in the ocean that they call the drain, where the water just constantly drains down into it, and nothing ever returns from this big hole in the middle of the ocean. And sort of flowing right into the synopsis, really, people from all over have basically this drain has become a religious thing.
Yeah.
And people bring their dead to drop over the side into the drain. And there are different factions that believe that purgatory is down in this drain, and they believe different things about purgatory. And there are even just in the island where the main characters live, there are two specific factions that don't necessarily get along. In fact, one faction basically controls the day and one faction controls the night. The main characters are named Ren and Alec, and they're friends that live on Edgeland, which is the nearest island to the drain.
Because it's the edge of the land.
That's just the edge of the
land
water.
Of the edge. Nope. You know what I'm going for.
It's the edge. It's the land near the edge.
It's the land near the edge.
And so Alec, he works for one of the houses that actually preps dead people to be sent over. And Ren is actually an orphan who is just basically trying to survive and trying to save enough money to leave Edgeland. And she goes to, there's like this structure around the drain that like I think of it like stone scaffolding that people walk along and maybe they moor their boats to and stuff like that. And she goes along it and like looks for money that coins that people dropped, because when they send their dead over the edge, they tend to load them up with belongings, which people get buried with belongings too, so it's not much different than that.
I don't know why.
So she's just basically scavenging and trying to find enough money so she can leave Edgeland and go somewhere else. I think she's looking for a long lost dad actually, but then she's accused of killing a prominent man from Edgeland, and so she has to escalate her plans to try to get away, to leave Edgeland faster, which that leads her and Alec to take a huge risk. And where does that risk lead them, Lena?
Down the drain.
Down the drain.
Into the fire, out of the frying pan into the fire.
Those are like some evil eyes right there. Crazy eyes. Okay, so, Lena.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you like about this book?
I think it was an interesting concept. I didn't know where it was going. And I kind of like the characters a little bit. Drown the serpent of fear.
That's all you liked about it?
Yeah, that's all I can think about.
Yeah, I just like Nightfall, because the things that I liked the most about Nightfall
Traditions.
were the atmosphere.
Yeah,
it's very creepy and very atmospheric, and the setup, the premise and stuff. I think for me, Nightfall mostly just fell apart, and some of the execution in the last half of the book. In this book, these authors are really good at coming up with really intriguing geological and environmental world features. The world building is really interesting.
Yeah.
And the idea of that dead people are sent down there and other things go down there and nothing has ever come back out. And then our two main characters fall down in here and you have no idea what they're going to find. No clue. So definitely really had me hooked for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's pretty much it for me too. So what did you not like about this book?
Oh, man. I wasn't that interested, I feel like. It's not even a long book.
No, it's really not that long, yeah.
It's not even that long. But it still felt like work towards the end, especially to actually finish it, because I was just like, this isn't that interesting. It felt like it was a subplot that I was reading through, and there was like, I was supposed to get through it to get to some real plot.
Yeah, I think I kept waiting for something else, some big thing to happen, some big surprising reveal, and there was sort of a reveal, but it wasn't that exciting.
I read this. I remember being at our family gathering for Thanksgiving, and I was towards the end, and I was sitting at the table while people were playing board games trying to finish their last few pages, and then you were like, "We're leaving," and then I was like, "But I'm so close and I can't read in the car." But then I ended up actually being able to read the last few pages because you took a while to actually leave. So it was like one of those times where I'm like, I really want to get to the end of this because I want to start the next book. Because I'm kind of tired of this book.
But, well, that's something right there, yeah. Well, what was that? Sorry, anything else?
I can't think of anything specifically. I feel like whatever I'll say is probably repeating.
So it's difficult because of the fact that I think they don't fall down into the drain until like a good ways into the book. That means that everything that happens down in the drain seems like a spoiler.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of sometimes it's difficult to really be able to quantify what makes something a spoiler and what doesn't. Like I literally tried to say something one time in one of these podcasts that was right near the beginning of the book, and you said, "I think that's a spoiler." I'm like, but it's like right near the beginning, so how can it be a spoiler?
It's just, sometimes
but I get it. Sometimes it's just something you feel, and it's not necessarily about how far into the book it is so much as it is about maybe whether it's part of the premise. Like I've read so many books where the synopsis talks about something that still doesn't happen until so far into the book that
was awful.
Then you can't really say it's a spoiler to talk about it. Well, everything that happens in the drain is basically up to the drain. I was still interested because I didn't know what was going to happen down in that drain. And it took a while to get there, but I really don't feel like I was too bored on the way to it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on, and some of what happens before they fall into the drain kind of sets up what they encounter in the drain. But then once they fall into the drain, it's pretty much just nothing all that interesting or surprising up to the end. And I started to just really not care about what happened to any of these characters. Part of the problem for me was, so I realize this might seem like a spoiler, but again, I can't really say anything about the book if I don't say at least this. Everything that they think is happening in the drain turns out to basically be what's happening. First of all, I have no idea how they would know any of that. Nothing that goes down to the drain returns. So how could anybody ever have these stories about what happens in the drain? And yet they do, and they're in a manner of speaking, they're correct. So there is religion heavily involved in this story. The afterlife and religion side of this, I think, was part of my issue, because I don't even think it's because I'm a Christian, because the fictional religions, like I said, the two factions on the dark side and the light side. It wasn't even like the good and the bad, or the Christianity and evil. It was just two sides, two different religions in general that were against each other.
Yeah.
I never felt like they were poking fun at Christianity, to be honest with you, but it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And the view, that what ends up happening down in the drain, that is meant to be something, a type of afterlife, just sounds like the most terrible afterlife you could ever imagine. So I'm not sure what the authors were actually going for here. I really don't know if they were trying to poke fun at religion or what, but it was just black.
Yeah.
It was just black.
Kind of weak.
And didn't make sense. It really just didn't make a lot of sense. Anyway, in the end, I had way too many questions about the who, the what, not the who, what, why,
how, who, what, when,
and
why, how.
I couldn't look back on it and think of it favorably, really. What rating do you give this book?
3 stars.
Which,
that's
quite
probably
frankly,
one of my lowest.
Yeah, but even still, with how little you liked about it, I'm surprised. I gave it 2.5 stars. Would you recommend this to anyone?
Sometimes I can be like, if you like this kind of book, but I can't really.
I think
I would probably say that. I mean, if you like, I don't know what kind of book to call it though.
Darkish fantasy in the teenage age range, you might enjoy it. I think there are people who would enjoy it more than we did.
Mm-hmm.
But I will be honest with you, if you like darkish fantasy in the teenage age range, I would recommend Nightfall over this.
Yeah. Join us next time when we will be reviewing Monster in the Hollows and Warden and the Wolf King by Andrew Peterson, the 3rd and 4th books in the Wingfeather Saga.
Until next time, I'm Christy.
And I'm Lena.
And this is
Generation Gap Book Reviews.